Let me read it from the beginning. This is another version of the song from the Russian-Ukrainian War of 1917-1921. Червона Kalina, which was brought back to popularity by Hlyvnyuk, the lead singer of the Boombox Band, and the David Gilmour from the Pink Floyd Band, when they recorded their version of the song together. It was in 2022. The music video uses footage from the Ukrainian film Червоний, which was shot in 2017. It is about Ukrainians who continued to fight for Ukrainian independence even after World War II. The armed struggle lasted until the late 50s. Guys, just imagine, until the late 50s, it lasted. Most of them were killed in battle or executed. Some were sent to Russian concentration camps, Gulag. But even there, Ukrainians raised an uprising. Several of the actors you saw in the movie are either at war or have already fought against Russia. So this is not just a version of a beautiful song. This is also a story, about the struggle against Soviet occupation that lasted until 50s, and even then in Gulag when they were sent there. So in that movie you can see the story from Gulag, how our Ukrainian guys raised the uprising there. Of course, I think they were all killed after and executed, but this, with Ukrainians will resist Russians until their last breath. You can imprison them, but they will keep fighting even there. In the meadow, the red guelder rose leaned down. For some reason, our glorious Ukraine is in sorrow. Yeah, the words of that song are that. Hello, Prometheus UA. The movie was based on the book. I think there are 3 books about this character. Awesome. So he got out of the Gulag in the next part, in the next book, I think, because in the end of the movie and in the end of the, of the music video, they were standing out there somewhere outside Gulag. They got out. They were standing on a mountain and they were really overwhelmed. They looked overwhelmed. I don't know how they felt, but they are also characters. Okay, my friends. Today we're gonna have Nick Soutter as our guest. So, guys, what we're raising funds for currently, it's car for the 3rd Assault Brigade, actually for the mortar unit. They have their own patch. Well, they are the company of the fire support, and she told me like the full official name, but she sent me a few patches from their brigade. Look at this. I hang one here, you see, and I think we're gonna raffle some of them someday. So yeah, this awesome patch was sent to me, and guys, that's what you, of course, if you're willing to get that patch, then we're gonna raffle it. What we're raffling these days, that beautiful Vyshivanka that is behind me. It has HIMARSes on it, battle geese, and drones, which those drones are called Luty. Luty are those drones who are actually bombing. They are kamikaze drones, so they are bombing Russia with themselves, like the long-range drones. They are reaching 1,000, sometimes 1,500 kilometers. Maybe not those, but those up to 1,000, I think. And all those oil refineries burning, they were all burning thanks to these drones. Luty, which is actually a February in Ukrainian too, but it is translated like fearsome, or like, there's another word, but let's call them fearsome. So here are the drones, here are the HIMARSes, $10 for a ticket for this beautiful Vyshivanka. All the donations are gonna go to this fundraiser, car for the 3rd Assault Brigade. And you know, this is a good piece of work. This is a very good quality Vyshyvanka, and it's just epic. So don't miss your chance to get that one. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, hello. I had to rush to get the $400 suit on in time. Just because I can't. Nobody would recognize me without this. It's like it's just when I have this on, they're like, "Oh, it's Nick." When I have this off, they're like, "Who the hell is that asshole?" So
I didn't know that.
jacket is more recognizable than I am, but fine. I'm not bitter.
You're not.
Not necessarily.
I'm happy to see you again.
It's really good to see you. It is so good to see you. Thank you so much for having me on. You know, every now and then I catch you on the shills or somewhere else, or I come see you here. I've been around. I've had like sock accounts. The only problem is with people who know me really well can see. They're like, "Oh, I recognize that sense of humor. That's Nick." I was like, "Do you understand why I use a sock account? It's so that people don't know. If you figure out it's me, do me a favor and don't just say like, that's got to be Nick." Thank you. I have great friends.
As many of us do. No, you know the. Okay, let me ask you this. What was the last thing I was doing, or where were we when we were last we last see each other?
Couple of things. First of all, I came on here and I was suffering a little bit of an existential crisis, and I will tell you why. It was because we'd interviewed Anna from Ukraine. We had done a fundraiser. We had just talked with General Benjamin Hodges, and every time it wasn't Hodges actually that did it. It was Anna from Ukraine. It was anyone who is a Ukrainian like you, and part of it is you.
So it's Ukrainian Anna, not right? Or you talking about Anna from Ukraine? Because there are two Annas, and I want.
It was Anna from Ukraine.
Anna from Ukraine. Okay, the one from Rivne, not the one from Kharkiv, right?
We had on both. I think we had on the one from Kharkiv.
Probably both. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Please continue.
Well, every time they're always just like, everybody was so grateful. You damn Ukrainians are so nice and so grateful. And she was like, "Thank you so much for telling our story." I was like, "Thank you for being in a war that's saving like the planet. And thank you for your service." What did I do? I sat in a really nice, comfortable chair with a suit. So I had told you this. I don't know if you remember this. I told you this, and I said I'd really like to go visit Ukraine. And you said, "Listen, my friend, if you do, you can have my couch. You're welcome here anytime." And so I started planning a trip, and unfortunately, life intervened. But that was sort of, and I was off air for a while, just because my own family had a crisis. So I never got to do that. Whether or not I'll ever really get to do that, I think is another question. But at that point, let's see, that was almost a year ago today. So that would have been. I'm trying to remember exactly what was going on. I know that there had been a very big. There had been what looked like would be a successful attempt at breaching the Russian side of the front line, but the problem was they had entrenched so heavily, and there were so many mines that they really basically had 5 layers of protection, and the Ukrainians were unfortunately stuck with a choice. They could either go very, very quickly through the lines, which really would have to be done to breach it, and suffer massive casualties, or go through reasonably slowly and maybe not make it through before winter. So it was a really bad situation at the time. And then, like I said, I haven't streamed or even really been able to follow up with it. I haven't followed up with American news. So people are sitting there going, telling me like, "Oh, what do you think about what Trump did?" I was like, "Oh, he's still in the news?" I was like, "I got no idea." Like, "Aren't you the news guy?" I was just like, maybe.
Now, what about the? Oh, well, first of all, Prometheus UA is saying вона з Луцька, не з Рівного. She's from Lutsk, Anna from Ukraine, not from Rivne, but from Lutsk. Yes, she is. She's from Volyn Oblast, not from Rivne Oblast. I just remembered. Thank you for reminding me. But second, I wanted to ask you a question, Nick. If you're not okay to share with the family crisis stuff, and it's personal information. So, but in case you were willing to share some of it, maybe I still wonder, because it really, I'm a curious person. That's that's it.
Everybody's a curious person, and what I found is that the more people care about me and like the show, the more they want to know. So it's completely understandable. There are a couple of problems. One, it's personal for me. Oop, Jesus. Two, it's personal for people that aren't on YouTube and aren't public figures, and people who are in my family who are deliberately not public figures. I've written a book, written several books. I've written, I'm on Wikipedia. You can find, and there are elements to being public that for me is just easy. I've learned with it. It's like I'm okay with it. But it's always a little weird when members of my family say, "Don't mention me on a stream." I was like, the world's not going to fall apart if I say your name on a stream. Like I just pretend I don't exist. Anyways, part of it is it's me personally as a choice. There are things that I don't want to discuss, but also there are things I cannot discuss in very large part because it would be involving private people into a public discussion, and there are people who have at least every right to privacy as I do, and so it's a family thing. I can't discuss it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Actually, I'm in the same situation. My wife she wants to stay off the public, and she's a private person, and people know who my wife is. I mean, not they know that I have a wife, and I call her a wife, but never a name, never a face, and we agreed, and I respect that. I understand that. I don't even have any problems with that. Like, we're just different people, and what is is enjoyable for me to be on public, could not be enjoyable by other people. And of course, there are some risks that come with it, especially when you're dealing with Russians, and yeah,
Jesus, yeah.
and with different kind of thugs. So yeah, well, I'm not dealing with any thugs, but
you're a better man than me. I sometimes, because my wife has qualifications that would help with the show. I was sometimes kind of like, don't you want to go on the show just once? And because I've always been proud of my wife, I kind of wanted to be like, this is my wife. This is because she's always been so smart. And it was just like, no. And it was like, okay, listen, we can do two things. You can stop asking me that question, or we can get a divorce. Choose. I was just like, wow, that escalated quickly. I was like, I think I know. So, and it's not just, it's their minors involved. There's all, yeah. So it's one of those things that, life happens to everybody. And I try to remember that for whatever's been going on in my life, I'm not in a war zone. So I try to be thankful for that.
Well, yeah, you guys are lucky to live in US. You're practically unreachable by Russians.
We're practically somebody. We had a show specifically talking about how the U.S. geography, first of all, influences our psychology. So we're only forced to deal with Canada and Mexico. That's it. And everybody in Europe is forced to deal with like at least 6 other countries. So you end up learning the languages and stuff like that. We don't have to do that. We don't have invading the US is really hard to do when it's not because we got a great military, it's because there's a huge ass ocean. Yeah. So it makes us less inclined, unfortunately, to care about what happens in the rest of the world. It makes it harder for us to understand that we are in fact affected by what happens in other countries. And it's not because Americans are dumb or stupid, which in some cases they are, especially Texas. I have a lot of beefs with Texas, but at any rate, It's not as there is some of that, but some of it too is just our geography, which is a blessing actually.
Yeah,
In so
the
many ways.
geography is definitely a blessing. Sorry, my British friends, but I don't consider you stupid. But just as a joke, I can say, "Ha! Stupid British people were sending prisoners there, like you know." But they actually, England itself and Great Britain itself is on the island, so it's also not easy to invade them. So no, you're not stupid, guys. Just to have fun, saying that you were sending people there as punishment, you know, into the States, and you brought them to actually being practically untouchable. Well, Nick, what do you?
Well, Titan pointed out Cuba too, of course, which is still. I mean, it's only I think 60 miles to Cuba. You can practically see Cuba, and that's one that has caused a lot of tension
Oh
for
yeah.
the entire world more than once.
Maybe Rick could raffle wife pick to just one lucky person. Lol.
Try explaining that to your wife. Now, I'd like a
Yeah,
picture that I'm going to send a stranger. She's like,
what?
what? No, you'll have your clothes on. Not that. By the way, I'd object to you taking your clothes off. I'm a feminist. You're empowered to do it anyway. What? That is just it's just a conversation that will not go well.
Yeah, that's
I'll pay to see it. I'll pay to see the conversation. I don't need to see. I just want to see you propose that. Yeah, let's have a donation.
I won't ever do that. I'm not that kind of a person, you know. I respect the privacy. So that was not a very good joke. Sorry, Lisa. I don't like it. Okay. Hello, Petra. Also, hello, Tim Stockin, who's joining us, guys. Doing Titan Uranus. I remember who you are, and welcome back. By the way, Titan Uranus was helping, showing up time to time here too. So, yeah, we didn't lose him completely. Michaels, hello to you too. Cass, hey, Sarah Palin. Could see Russia from her house in Alaska. Who's Sarah Palin?
Sarah Palin was the former governor of Alaska. She was the vice presidential nominee with John McCain, and she was a complete fucking idiot. And at one point, she was asked a question. She knew nothing about anything. Nothing about anything. Her only accomplishment was serving half a term as governor of Alaska. And Alaska, by the way, the population density, it may be big, so you'd think that's an accomplishment, but the population density is less than one person per square mile. It's cold, it's tundra. Nobody wants to live there. They actually have to, they will pay you $14,000 a year to live there. That's the stipend that they get for all the oil companies drilling in Alaska. So that's why nobody, and it's not part of the contiguous United States. But Sarah Palin was one of the dumbest people I've ever seen run for office, and that's saying something. And she knew nothing about foreign policy. She had been asked about the invasion of Ukraine, and it was clear that at the time, was this before she had? I think this was around Crimea being seized, and she had no idea that it had even happened. And so they said, "Well, tell us, what foreign policy experience do you have?" And her answer was as follows: "Well, when Putin sends his fighter jets around to go see what's going on in the US, where do you think he sends them? Alaska, where I'm the governor. And so who do you think is dealing with those fighter jets? Who do you think it is?" And it's like, what the fuck is she talking about? And so there was a Saturday Night Live parody about it where they had on, Sarah Palin, and they're like, "So what are your qualifications for being president?" "I can see Russia from my house." It's like,
that's
she did it that way. She had the pauses and everything. I mean, she was like, you could tell she had no idea what the answer was. She was just like stalling for time on national television. It was really bad.
Wow, Nick, I think you told the story perfectly. Like, I have complete understanding of who she is
Yeah.
now.
Oh, and she's still a joke in the U.S. I mean, she
Mm.
is still a joke in every. Oh yeah, the other thing that she did was when we had a national catastrophe in the U.S., Katrina breached the walls, 100-foot wave of water just storming in through Louisiana. She said that the president of the United States should call the Dutch because, you know, they know how to deal with dams and the finger and the boy and it's like she took that serious. She thought that was a real story about a boy sticking his finger in the dam. So we'll be able to fix all these breached levees in Louisiana. I can't make this shit up. I'm not that funny.
Oh yeah. I believe you. I believe you that you're not making it up. Okay. So you please address questions to Nick. By the way, Nick, can you see the chat?
I can.
Awesome, awesome. So he will see it right away. Both of you survived the shills. Come on. Like,
I was going to say something about the last time you and I were on the shills too, but I'd forgotten what I was going to say. Yeah, we've gone through the. Oh yeah, I remember one thing I was going to say was do the new. I wanted to ask you. You've been making so you went to the bigger and more advanced drones. Do they have that new armor?
new armor? What do you mean?
Yeah, the anti-Starsky armor plating that goes on the bottom so that in case like an overzealous National Guardsman decides he wants to shoot it down.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
No.
the problem is Anti-Starsky was pretty good though.
Starsky doesn't watch this show, but right now, is he watching right now? If he is, that was a joke. If he's not, he totally shot down a Ukrainian drone. I'm just saying.
He okay. He probably doesn't watch it right now because well,
I like to remain friends with him.
okay, so listening to you
All right,
in this
perfect. Hold on,
earbud. So tell me that story too.
okay. And here we go. So, all right. So, in time, we're an educational news program. So we're devoted to trying to help, usually Americans, but you know, we try to be as international as possible. But we're devoted to helping people in general sort of better understand the news, better understand their world, learn how to spot misinformation, and learn how to think critically about the news. So this is what we do. This is our mission statement. Now we have a number of hosts, co-hosts. Lance McMillan is a co-host of a show that we do every Thursday. And we, as a channel, have taken a deep personal interest in Ukraine because we think that the United States of America has deeply underestimated the severity of this issue. We believe it's a humanitarian crisis, but there's always a humanitarian crisis somewhere in the world. So it's not just that it's a humanitarian crisis; it's that it's a profound problem for everybody, and so we on In Time have taken it very seriously and personally. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. But we're actually primarily a news and educational show, and right now we believe that one of the areas in which we need the most education is countering Russian propaganda and in educating people on the importance of Ukraine and what is really happening there, because not enough people understand it. And once you see the pictures and once you see the courage, it's very hard, I think, to say, yeah, I'm going to do nothing. We're not going to budget for this or that. So we need to educate. So that's what we do. But we cover lots of things. And we have on philosophers a lot of the time to discuss elements of sometimes, you know, terrorism. We had a regular guest as a philosopher who got his PhD in the study of conspiracy theories. What are they exactly, how and why they form, and he has actually made an argument that they're a critical function of society. So we have really lots of guests to discuss interesting stuff. Well, one day we decided we were going to have on one of our sort of favorite guests, revered man that we have on to cover a lot of very important topics. And he was going to bring on a philosopher, and I forget what the topic was, but he was going to bring on a philosopher, doctor, or somebody or other. And one of our regular guest hosts is a man by the name of Christopher Moudy. And Moudy does not have a degree in philosophy, but he is a college professor and he audits philosophy classes like there's no tomorrow. I have a BA in philosophy, so I'm at least competent to discuss it and understand it and engage on it. And Moudy is as well, because he audits it. He studies these things. So we're having him on, and we haven't had him on in a while, and he and I are best buds. So this is going to be a fun show. We have him on now. He's not on in the green room yet. We're about to go live. We've got about 5 minutes to going live. And because I know the host that brought this philosopher to us, I know this host. I just sort of took him at his word that everything was on the up and up and everything was fine, and we didn't really do the usual background checks that we do. So I'm talking to the guys like, oh, how do you want me to introduce you? So you're a doctor of philosophy. You got a PhD in philosophy. He goes, oh, no, I don't have a PhD in philosophy. Oh, what is your PhD in? Sports medicine. Okay, great. I'm delighted. That's just great. We're literally in we're not to the credits yet, but we're on the waiting, standing by music. I was just like, and you're telling me this now. I'm like, now I believe in autodidacts. I'm a bit of an autodidact myself. I mean, it's okay. He could be like a doctor of sports medicine. It's still no real serious philosophy, right? And we were going to discuss philosophy of science. So I was just like, oh no, this is gonna be fine. This will be fine. Sports medicine. This is good. This is good. And Moudy comes in, and Moudy's like, oh, this is gonna be a great show. I'm so looking forward. And he actually also works at a lab, so he knows a lot of science. And I was just like, yeah, I wish I could have this conversation with Chris right now, but I can't. We're going live, so we go live. And I was just like, I'll carry the guy. If there's a problem, I'll carry the guy. So Chris has been looking forward to this interview for a while and starts asking some very basic questions. And for every single question that Chris asks, the guy replies, that's a really good question. What do you think? And Chris is like, are you pulling this Socrates shit on me? And so it's like, I'm not asking you because I already know the answer. I've had classes in this. I'm asking you so you can tell everyone else. He goes, well, I really think that you should I really think that you should come up with your own answer. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, okay, let's change the topic. The weather has just been spectacular today, folks, hasn't it? And I'm like, we're supposed to be an educational show, but I am derailing this. I am deliberately now going to derail this show because I really do respect the hell out of the guy who brought it here, and I don't want to. I was like, so we'll just, okay. So I start just trying to talk about anything except philosophy, and Chris doing what he exactly should do in this situation, bringing it right back to the main topic. He's just like, okay, let's. How about we just sort of define our terms about the law of identity, and the guy's just like, so what is and what is not? He goes, that's a good question. What do you think is or is not? And he's just like, did you just ask me? And his temper starts going up just a little bit, and it's just like, my temper's going up too. I'm a little ticked off. We had assumed that the PhD was in philosophy, not sports medicine. So I'm just like, oh boy. And then he asked a question, and the story would be 10 times better if I could remember what the question was. But anybody who has had 4 days in an intro to philosophy class could answer this question. And the guy clearly couldn't, but to cover it, he was just like, what do you think? And he was just like, if you say that to me one more time, I'm going to lose it. And I was just like, yes, folks, this is In Time, a professional show. We're doing great. This show's going great. No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And, oh, squirrel. Could everybody look at the squirrel now? Not just me. I just want the whole audience to, and I don't want to disrespect anyone. And then they're like, well, and I was just like, so how many people are you guys talking to about this subject? Oh, everybody, we're just, and I'm just like, oh my God. And it did finally start to get a little serious. We're like, it seems like you got, your co-host there isn't really respecting or doesn't understand something. And it's just like, yeah, no, I hate to say this, but I know exactly where he is and why. Like, I don't, and it's good. We got the good cop and bad cop because he's just flipping out, and I'm just like, I wish I could flip out. I was just like, you did not. And our entire audience is people who know philosophy. So because we've covered philosophy before, so it was crystal clear this man was way out of his element, and people who didn't know philosophy maybe, but our audience had already picked up on it. They're just like, oh, rip him a new one. Like, why don't we just have fun with them all? It's like, no, that's not what we do. Like, oh dear Lord. So that was a disaster show from hell. And it was later, we got one complaint that he had been unprofessional. I was like, actually, no, I disagree. And the reason is because he was actually well restrained for it. And it was largely my fault. I didn't check the guy's background. It's not the guy's fault. It's nobody else's fault. It's mine. I should have checked the background, but it's like, I literally, and after the whole show was over, he's like, where did he get his degree in philosophy? I was like, oh, I forgot to tell you about that. His degree might be in sports medicine. And he's like, what? I was just, yeah. So that was a fun show.
Ooh, that's a good story. What do you think about it? Yeah, Reptire, thank you for 10 gifted memberships there. Thank you for... Okay, mic is working good. Because my M-Game console, which Dick Dawson together, he raised on the shills money for it, and then Greg Terry and Jenya bought it here in Ukraine and brought it to me as a gift. And it is acting up time to time. It just switches off my mic or switches off the output for me sometimes. And people and rollers start screaming in the chat, Rick, no, Mike. This is actually how I began the stream today. I went live and started talking for 5 minutes, and people are yelling in the chat, Rick, you're muted. Come on, hear us out. I mean, notice the chat. And I was so driven away by the description of the song that it was playing in the intro. So then I am just like, fuck, where did you lose me? And they're like, you had no sound since the beginning. And I was like, oh. No, but yeah.
Well, I get asked a lot by people who are new to YouTube how to solve the sound problem, because new YouTubers especially, they're always muting. And my answer to that, as an experienced YouTuber who's been doing this for about 5 years, is that
nice one.
yeah, I've never found an answer. Muted after I've done ones where I did one where we went live on a passion thing, like something happened and I was just like, I wanted to talk about this. It was a gun thing. This still breaks my heart. And I did like 5 minutes on gun violence in the US and children getting killed. And I was so impassioned by it that I didn't even look at the live chat, which was all like, you're muted. And I was just like, it's like I look crazy, and they're like, "What's he talking about?" It's like gun violence in the U.S. Okay, well, at least I understand that. But if you don't, and somebody someday is going to make a video like the downfall videos that are made, like that I'll be saying something really crazy. I actually think we took that down just to avoid that, and it would be mostly the mods who would do that. That's why I get trolled more by my mods than anybody else. I have to do something about it, but since Titan controls the mods, I'm probably screwed.
Wow, another pretty good story. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that, yes, I mentioned all the donations. And I can get to... okay, someone said muted? No. And muted even means lip read, struggle to lip read if one has beard.
Yeah. That's a good point, right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so there were coffees from Reptire. Hi Rick, 5 tickets for raffle. Thank you. I enjoyed the Azov live stream earlier today. Well done on the interviews. Awesome job, brother. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava, Rep Tyree. Rep, thank you for buying 5 tickets. And I also want to ask Nick if he watched any of my free Azov streams ever.
Who is this?
No, probably he did not. But when you're in Ukraine on Sunday, we're gonna go and visit one of them. So Free Azov rally is a protest that is happening every Sunday. Well, it's not only in Kyiv. The biggest one is in Kyiv, but they are happening throughout the Ukraine. And
No, and he goes and he asks, and especially young people who, and I think I remember I did see one of these videos, and what blew my mind was how well they spoke English, because all the answers were being given in English.
yeah, I usually, well, not all the people speak English there, but
I didn't see. I mean, well, I haven't seen a lot of it, but what I saw, he was asking questions about, and it was mostly. And then, one of a stream that I'm remembering that I was watching like 2 months ago. So I don't know if this is the same one we're talking, or maybe we're talking.
It's me.
But you
who's
finish
going
talking,
out
and
there.
I'll stop.
So yeah, I'm the interviewer. I'm going out there and filming the show live. Not a show. Did I just say show? That's crazy. Sorry, guys. It's not a show. It's a protest, and it is meant to address a very important problem that well, that's the most important thing of it. No Azov fighters were exchanged. You know, the who are prisoners of war were not exchanged since 6th of May 2023. More than a year ago, guys. It's actually a year and 3 months now that not a single soldier of Azov Brigade was exchanged. That's a major issue that has been addressed many times. You know, they are most efficient soldiers, but Russia is not giving them back.
That's why.
That's why, yeah. They are torturing them every day. I took interview there on those rallies from a few former captives, and they told us stories. And it's a unique experience because rollers had a chance to give questions to them, to ask questions right there. So, one soldier Andrei was telling how they were beating them every day, a few times a day, how they were not feeding them, and he was not an Azov soldier. And Azov soldiers are being treated even worse. I've heard crazy. I mean, I listened to interviews of some of the soldiers that were getting back, and actually Zolkin, you know, Zolkin started working. I mean, he started visiting the prisoner camps together with one former prisoner of war, and he told them himself through what he came. I mean, that's a crazy stuff, man. In those interviews, you listen to that and you think, oh shit, I would rather kill myself before I get to Russian captivity. I would better shoot myself because humiliation, sexual torture, constant, beating, no food. He had to eat the rat because he had to eat an alive rat. Catch it first. It was also a challenge, but he had to then chew it while it was still alive. And he was, yeah, it's far not the scariest story that he was telling. And they torture many soldiers to death there, and just bringing back the bodies. A lot of captives who are coming back to Ukraine are coming back in the black bags, and it's what we are trying to fight with these rallies to attract more attention. And I think it's very important to stream it. So I go there every Sunday. I talk to former captives, luckily, but I don't catch them too often, but sometimes it's veterans, sometimes it's some volunteers, activists. We have, some characters that are already our friends who we meet like sometimes we meet them, sometimes we don't. But on Sunday we go there with rollers. They are supporting them a lot and me a lot in this journey of mine. So I've actually turned into the street journalist for the last almost half a year now. I also do that now too, and it's a pretty interesting experience. I think some days like today, I am good at this. Really, I stick almost to every person I met today, and I talk to them, and I try to make it really light, and like to joke a bit, to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel less nervous. And yeah, some great people we meet. Today I took around 5 or 6 full, wow, come on, no, 7 or 8 full interviews, like 20 minutes long. It was pretty cool today. You wanted to say something, Nick?
Well, no, I have seen it. I've seen a piece of one, and I just remember you. I think there was somebody down on a circle, and they were like drawing with chalk on the ground, and you had spoken to a woman. She didn't want to talk to you, and then there was. It's not like she wasn't rude about it. She just didn't want to be on camera, and then there was a couple others who you could. So I have seen it, but not a lot. I think it's a great idea. Before this, I was an anti-theist, so I do firmly believe that organized religion is actually an existential threat to us as well. It's just not the biggest thing I have to worry about right now. But and there are people who do street epistemology, and there's I saw you doing that, and it reminded me of one of my favorite street epistemologists. He's actually just he just has adopted street epistemology in a way. It's oh my God, I can't even believe I've forgotten his name. He now does a lot of DJing and other stuff, but he's a really good street epistemologist, and you reminded me of that because you had the same skills.
Oh, thank you. No, well, some days I don't feel confident, or I'm tired, and it doesn't go that good. But I think most of the time I manage to make it a good stream. So
it's an art. It's an art. You have to have your head in the game, and you can't always do that. So you learn how to do it even when your head's not in the game. But it takes a lot of experience, and even then, people who know you and who love you, who just watch you all the time, are like, ooh, he's not. Something's up. Whatever it is, we all go through that.
Yeah. But no, I really, if you have an hour or 2 hours. That stream was going for 2 hours today. I really recommend you to watch today's stream, because not only I was good, I met awesome people there. So yeah, if you have time for that, watch Free As of August 4th. That's a good one. Also, you will see there was a Svitlana there. She's waiting for her nephew from captivity. But like a week ago, I talked to 2 mothers who are waiting for their sons from captivity, and it's really hard, to talk to them, because there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, and just hope, which is very faint, And yeah, sometimes these rallies are super hard, and this is how it should be, because it's not about some happy and light thing. It's about fucking captivity, where you're being tortured every day for several times, not being fed, and you are denied to have hope there. They try to convince you that Ukraine has fallen already. You're in informational vacuum, and you just cannot get info from anywhere.
And I want to bring something up, because I think I was on your, not the last time I was on your stream, but the time prior to that, you and I had this discussion, and I said we need to make a correction. This is not a war. It's not. It's genocide. It is the deliberate and methodical attempt to wipe the Ukrainian people off the face of the planet. And there's any number of ways to know that without needing to have Putin come up and say something like that, which he hasn't quite said, but he suggested more than once. But somebody put in your live chat, and you had mentioned this before about sexual abuse and castration. There's a huge effort by the Russians to castrate any male they find. There's also deliberate attempt to rape, and it's because they want to eliminate the Ukrainian culture. And it is an absolute genocide. It has to be declared and understood by the UN to be a current and ongoing genocide. Those castrations, by the way, those aren't medical castrations in the sense that that's basically 6 guys grab the soldier, hold him down, take a military knife, just cut the genitals right off, and then let the guy go. They don't suture him. They don't know medical. And they're doing this in prisons. They're doing this to soldiers that they've captured in the field.
Yeah.
We talk sometimes about, okay, what are the rules of war? Rules of nature don't seem to apply in terms of talking about humans dealing with other humans. It's unforgivable, and there is one word for it in the English language. It's called genocide.
Yeah. This week another case appeared. Russians decapitated Ukrainian one soldier. I didn't watch that photo because I think it will be hunting me in the dreams. So I did not do that, but it was out there this week, and this is happening like at least once a month. They execute, decapitate, castrate an Ukrainian soldier. Last month, there was a chopped off head, put on a spike of the Ukrainian soldier. Oh, not on a spike. They put it on the MRAP, MRAP. Yeah, they put it on the, how do you call it? The hood, the front, which is.
Oh yeah, whatever the decoration, the adornment on the hood of the vehicle.
Yeah, they put it there. They put the head there. So, yeah, Nick, shitty news are coming from Ukraine. The thing is, I got, as one of the rollers noticed last week, I got angrier through this, like, in this year. I got more sad and angry, and I also got I got more realistic than optimistic, I would say. Unfortunately, I see and constantly stated that right now we're losing this war. A year ago we were not, before the counteroffensive that unfortunately failed. We must admit that the problem is we have a lot of internal problems that are rising and growing, which is also affecting the battlefield. Our government, our president, and his office, they need to change the communication with the society, because they keep lying, they keep coping. They are providing copium for masses, and they think that this should keep being that way, because I don't know what, they probably don't believe that Ukrainians can handle the truth or something. Like, the truth is ugly, but they keep telling lies. And we're fed up of it. The Ukrainians who are conscious, who don't want to listen to the lies, and we really know that situation is fucked up out there on the front line, and it's fucked up in the army after they replaced Zaluzhny with Syrsky, and Syrsky started putting his generals, his Soviet generals. I think he is himself a Soviet general, and this is why he's cultivating the Sovietism in the army. And he's replacing brigade generals, efficient brigade generals, with total dumb fucks who are just, they kill their own men. They kill it for promotions, man. The main rule right now among those generals, the main rule is to lose as more men to get promoted. Like, they measure it now. Right now they are asking the question, like, general of the brigade has a general above him, and that general asks him, "Hey, why are your losses so low? You know, if they keep remaining the losses low, they replace them. They replace them with some incompetent fucks, and that's been a huge issue that is not being dealt with. Our government wants to, hide the cases because we have this Державне бюро розслідувань, which is basically Ukrainian FBI, but unfortunately it's not that not that good as FBI because it's totally controlled by our presidential office, and it will say anything. It will do anything they say they make them do. So the thing is that DBR is well known by, making cases just go unfinished and make things quiet. So they actually did not start an investigation from by the way, they must do it by law. They are obliged to start an investigation when they receive guys, you remember the word that I was looking for, but when some person comes to them and says, I have an evidence about this dude doing this and that and being a criminal, you got to start an investigation. How do you call the process of that?
It's either called an accusation or an allegation.
Allegation, accusation.
Allegation is the form. Allegation is the formal. So since you're talking about the FBI, if you want to be formal, you say they're making an allegation.
Yeah.
It's also used in the court system. Informally, people talking to each other, they usually say an accusation.
So he made an allegation. He is the chief of staff of Azov Brigade. Bogdan Krotevich. He was on Azovstal, he was in captivity, he was exchanged last year in the beginning of 2023, and he actually made an allegation against General Sodol, who, as Bogdan Krotevich said, this general killed much more Ukrainian soldiers than any Russian general did. So this, yeah, man, and he is right. This man was sending Marines. He was the head of the Marine Corps. Last year he was promoted for losing much more men. He was sending Marines on suicide missions through all 2023, and Deep State actually made a list of the operations, and I was reading that list out loud on one of the streams a few weeks ago. So that dude was promoted, and he is now setting his generals on the brigade command posts as a commanders of the brigades. That Sodol guy was removed from his position after that scandal, after the allegation that Bogdan Krotevich made. And Bogdan Krotevich has proofs, and Bogdan Krotevich and, for example, Sternenko, the Ukrainian volunteer, they have soldiers who are willing to testify against Sodol. But that fucking DBR, which is the analog of FBI, it's like like that horse. You remember the meme where part of the horse is how it started, and it looks beautifully drawn, and how it ended, it's like a 1-year-old child drawing. So the beautiful part is the American FBI, and the part we have, and the DBR, the FBI we have, it's that childish horse. So that horse did not start an investigation on that guy Sodol. They removed him. So President removed him from his position. He was, it's hard to translate that thing, but he was like a chief of staff of the whole Tavria or Hortica. Hortica is like a group of the army. It's like a 1/3 of the army. Like basically he was ruling. Yeah, he was managing 1/3 of the army. Never gonna let you down. 5 more tickets. Wow, Reptile buys 5 tickets for the 3rd time. Thank you. Now, but let me finish that. So what did they do? Now we have information that Sodol massacre, he actually is trying to get out of the army on pension due to health issues. So he wants to escape
Uh-huh.
justice. He wants to escape the army. He wants to become like a veteran, to not be prosecuted. But they won't start investigation on him anyway. But anyway, they're letting him go away with this. And this is the biggest problem we have in Ukraine now. We have no justice, no fucking justice for even a single criminal here. I mean, the big criminals, like I'm not talking about some criminals out there on the streets. Of course, they're
Yeah, so the regular police force is operating as it should. It's the higher level that's going after the more organized that crime that they're not succeeding. Yeah.
It's not only about investigation structures like DBR, but it's also about the judiciary system. It's really fucked up. They will make and our deputies who are in our government, I mean not government, the Rada, the parliament, they are, they're messing up with laws, and when our civil society is trying to push laws through some good deputies who are not corrupt, they vote and make amendments to make this law crippled and to really play in favor of the top corruption people like oligarchs. We have those oligarchs in Ukraine. So they actually, in the first reading, they voted for the law last month that will allow them to pay off for the corruption. So if you've stolen 300 million hryvnias, you can pay 100 million to the government and just go away with your 200 million. Yeah, they are putting the, how do you call it, the bailout, or how do you call when you what?
I mean, that's payoff.
No, that's payoff, but I'm switching to another topic. When someone is under custody, you can pay this thing to let them out. Bail, yeah. So they are.
It's called bail. The process of doing it is called bailing out, but it's called bail.
But yeah, so what is happening right now in courts? The corruption. People who are with scandal are being put into custody for corruption, for stealing, let's say 300 million. They are setting them 100 million bail. Not
Jesus.
Yeah, and this is happening every month. Like we have these cases where they've stolen 300 million, someone is stealing a few dozens of millions. So there was a guy who was stealing $1 billion or something, and the bail is always smaller than the money that they've stolen. So yeah, man.
So you can make a business out of it, is what it sounds like.
Right now, that's what they are doing. They are making business of that. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. I would assume, and this is a tough question, but I know I can ask you because you and I have even disagreed pretty significantly before, and and I know you really think about these things, and I'm actually going to suggest that maybe the blame isn't as much on Ukraine as it could be, and so you have an incentive to agree with that. But I know you're going to tell me what you really think, so I'm going to ask you this: why do you think this is happening? Because in my view, in large part, I would assume, being reasonably ignorant, I would assume that this is happening because of the sharp and prolonged reduction in aid. And the problem is, once the aid goes down, unless you can continue to demonstrate that you can do results, you'll never get aid back. So the government actually ends up giving in to corruption in order to try to make things look better, primarily for aid. Do you think that's the reason, or do you think it's another reason?
Hmm. I think it. I'm not sure if it's connected. I mean, I think I didn't get it completely. I mean, your thought. You say that if the aid is slowing down and not coming, our guys are starting to be corrupt and actually playing by the rules of corruption.
Essentially, so let me flesh it out a little bit. Aid did stop, at least from the U.S., for a period.
Yeah,
It is
for
now
nine
coming back.
months.
Yeah. Now, we have always said that as a essential, not official, there's nuance, but we basically said that there has to be a chance of progress and success, and we have to see that for us to continue investing in Ukraine. So, if we stop giving money for 9 months, it's impossible for Ukraine to continue with that progress. So instead, it encourages corruption because like a Ukrainian general can say, we have to show more losses so that so that the U.S. will come back, so that people will continue to invest, and we won't lose the investment. So it looks like it's at least a possibility that a lack of support has led to this, but I don't know. I'm not there, and that's just my hot take on it. So I'm just doing a hot take, just like this is what it looks like. So I'm curious as to your answer to that.
No, I don't think that they are that smart or, scheming. No, it's just the dumb Soviet way of doing things. The problem is we had, let's call them clans, right? In the army, in my opinion, it's just my opinion. We had two clans. We had the clan of Soviets, and it was not ruling back then in the army. General Zaluzhny was trying to push forward the way of becoming modern army, of changing things, of switching from Soviet to something modern, something Ukrainian. But those dudes took over. They got Zaluzhny out, and they got him out in a dirty way. And Zelensky's party, unfortunately, played their role in it. And we Ukrainians have seen how this has been happening, and it's crazy because one of the deputies, one of the Ukrainian deputies, Bezugla, who was used for that, to just constantly throw dirt and shit on General Zaluzhny, she is really playing for, like, she's not playing for Russia, but everything she does goes in their favor. Like, it's crazy. And even after she looks like a Russian agent, like an obvious Russian agent, because she's constantly undermining the authority of the army, and not only army, and of some good people in Ukraine. And it's just ridiculous. So you see, the problem is the Soviets took over, and they now try to just make the army the same as Russian army. But the problem is, Soviet army of Russians is big, and our army is smaller in number of equipment. Even if we will, conscript, mobilize 500 more men, it is still not going to be enough. But because Russians will definitely double that.
They have 10, and especially when they're willing to just pull people right out of prison, and when they're willing to, I mean, considering everything they're willing to do in terms of manpower, and considering that they don't care about the lives of their own men, they can 5-10 to 1 on men.
Yeah, that's the problem. So it doesn't matter how many men will mobilize. They will be outnumbered by Russians, and this is not the way to do this war. And you see, it's really, really unbelievable how everything is fallen into decay after we were winning 2022. In 2024, really having army getting worse, becoming a Soviet army. So I really hope that I'm not going to put you into depression with my speeches, and because I see you're getting more and more sad.
I'm not. I'm concentrating harder. So I because I have the same. I get distracted easily. So when I look lower and lower and lower, it's deliberately. It's like putting horse blinders on. I am deliberately blocking my field of view so I can hear what you say. And kind of, so I'm actually not getting. I'm not. I have some responses, but I want you to finish. I'm listening intently.
And some, the corrupt people in Ukraine, they actually don't care about anything. Like, they think they are above law, and it's not like they start being more corrupt or losing men because we don't have aid. They don't fucking care about war. They only fucking care about their pockets, and they will do everything to fill them with money. So they're just brazen, fucking brazen. They steal even from the army these days, and they also are doing everything to get promotion if we're talking about the army. So I'm still not some there are periods that I'm getting depressed and pessimistic because of the shit that is happening here. But in general, when I keep working, for example, on the dubs, and I see that I'm doing the right thing and that this work is needed, I just, like, even knowing all this, I keep, like, I soldier on. I'm not being depressed. I'm just being, like, I don't know, angry. I'm being angry. I'm turning this sadness into anger, the efficient way.
Well, and there's a couple of things to remember. One of my favorite human beings ever, like I said, I have a couple that I aspire, and I think Christopher Hitchens I had mentioned on, but that was another show, I think, and Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And he said something that every day it seems I understand more and more, and it's actually a little hard to swallow. It's good news, but it's still hard to swallow. And what he said was, the arc of history is long, indeed very, very long, but it bends towards justice. And from what I can tell, evil people get away with evil things all the time. All the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this universe that we thought growing up where, there's the police and the bad guy almost always gets caught. It's not like the movies. But it's been my experience that over time, evil wins 49% of the time. 49%, which is huge. And good wins 51%. And that is the entire arc of human history. And if you take a look at this war that you're fighting right now, there's a reason you're fighting it. And one reason is, of course, because Russia invaded. But the other reason is because you won the war for your independence previously.
Mm-hmm.
And if that war hadn't have been won, you wouldn't be in the situation you're in now. And the reality is, no matter how this ends, if you end up having to fight again, you'll be in a better position to do it, and you will have more support from NATO, and you will have more awareness for NATO. So even if this ends in some bad way,
in a frozen conflict, basically, which means
yes,
in 8 to 10 years, Russia will come.
Which sucks. Which sucks. I don't want to sit there and say that's that, but it's built over time, and so every donation that you're giving to even if it ends up frozen, and you can sit there and say, oh, so what I did means nothing. No, because if you hadn't been there, the line where it gets frozen would have been deeper into Ukraine territory, and you'd have even more problems than you do now. We think intuitively that this should be one and done. We fight one war and it's over. Fuck, it's not. That's just not the reality. But the reality is, and it's just demonstrable, over time, good wins. but it's over time and it's through suffering.
Yeah, there's still a lot of suffering for Ukrainians
Yeah.
to experience, guys.
I've been gone a while, and things have changed, and not in good a way as I'd hoped. The last time we aired really was right before the offensive was just starting, so it's been a while. So, and I mean that was last year.
Yeah.
So, but I really do appreciate. Oh, I just lost an earbud here. So, I really, yeah.
Talking about this ugly stuff is something that you won't hear from the let's call them American YouTubers, or let's call them Western YouTubers, because I also have this Ukrainian media space that I am in, and I see all the dirt that we Ukrainians usually don't want to get out there, because we may lose support, we may lose military aid, but we won't win this war if we won't fight these problems. So we need to talk about them. So yeah, just want to say thank you for being here with us today, Nick. It's a pleasure to have you here. I hope it was not too much depressive. It was funny in the beginning, but then I started talking about this ugly truth, and it went much worse.
You've seen our show, you know that we think exactly like what you just said. What you just said is you cannot. There's what is the line? It's with democracy, liberty, whatever you want to say. Liberty dies in darkness. It can be scary to shed light on scary things, but if you don't do it, you can't fight those things, and you're going to lose to them every time. So, thank you very much for having me on. One of the first shows I've done since I've been back, so I really appreciate it. And it is always a pleasure to talk to you because I always learn a lot. So thank you very much, Rick.
Same. Thank you so much. And we gotta talk about the prisoners of war next time you're here, because I posted a new dub today. Yesterday, sorry. So yesterday.
We have to do that. We absolutely have to do that. I'm interested in that. So let's do that.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to the live chat. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah,
and,
thank you, Rollers. You've been very kind to Nick, and thank you for that. not like me.
Yeah, not like my own. Yeah, your Rollers have been nicer than my mods who've been in your chat. They're like, oh, this guy again. All right, have a great.
Live long and prosper, Nick.
You too, sir.
Thank you. Okay, my friends. Yeah, 27. From Rick, the Ukrainians community. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Okay, I'm donating it now, and the progress bar will update now. Come on. Yes, it just updated. We're on 90%, guys. Only 10% left of this fundraiser. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for being here for 8 hours and 3 minutes. Awesome stream. Love you all, Rollers. Don't forget to live long and prosper and donate. And love you all, guys. And let's keep bringing our victory closer bit by bit with our grassroots efforts. But we make a contribution, and that's important. Rick, 8 hours of streaming, bro. Get some rest, man. That's what I need to do. Exactly. And I'm fucking falling to sleep, yeah. Okay, my friends. Slava Ukraini. And Heroям Slava. Rest in peace, all the heroes of Ukraine who's given their lives for freedom and future free future, not enslaved future, which is basically not future but past, Soviet fucking past. We will keep being voices for Ukraine. Thank you guys. Much love. Thank you for watching, guys. Please like this video, leave any comment under it, and subscribe if you haven't yet. You can also check the previous part, and you can become a member on my Buy Me a Coffee to support my work here. Thank you, and live long and prosper.